So you interact with a lot of students on Twitter.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? Do you like it when they kind of interact with you, when they tweet about you?
I love the attention I get on Twitter. It's so much fun. Of course, Twitter is a pretty rough and tumble place, and I'm pretty radical on Twitter sometimes. And the single biggest group of people that I follow, students will follow me, and then I'll follow them, but then they'll stop following me when they realize, the volume I put out and, the crazy content I put out and stuff like that. So, I have a lot of people follow me and then they stop following me, but, it is what it is. I'm a real person, and I present myself as a real whole person on Twitter, and that's how I operate.
Right. So they feel like you're just a hacky sack man, and then when they realize you're a little bit more, they're like, oh.
Well, I mean, there's kind of two camps, because I am, really socially and politically opinionated, and the people who agree with my opinions tend to really like what I do on Twitter, and they keep following me. The ones that don't usually eventually drop off.
Can you take me through a day as the hacky sack man?
Well, what I do out here really is an actual show. It's a production. So my day starts like a normal work day. I wake up in the morning, instead of, getting ready and going to work, I start getting my stuff together. I pack my trailer with my radio and, make sure I've got my camera ready to go and all my batteries are charged up, and, and get everything packed up and, prepare myself. And sometimes, I end up doing stunts like, having something written on my back, and I got to prepare for that. I got to put on sunscreen, and, so, I finally get out here and get ready. It usually takes me about an hour before I get out here, a process of getting out here, and then getting back home and unpacking is like another hour, and I spend 2.5, sometimes almost 3 hours out here. So it's, that takes up almost all of my day. And of course, when I'm done, when I've been out here playing footbag for 2.5 hours, I'm completely destroyed. I mean, my body is drained. It's like I go home, I take a shower, I pretty much fall asleep.
Wow.
I'm no good. I can't do anything. It's like, so sometimes I'll go out and ride my bike a little later in the evening if I can.
Mm-hmm. So what keeps you coming out here if it's so like mentally and physically exhausting?
Because I love it. At this point, I've got no other excuses other than I just love to play hacky sack so much. It brings me so much joy. It brings me so much, happiness and excitement. It's like it's this incredible, wonderful thing, and I just love to do it.
And then I know there are, especially recently, there's been a lot of arguments around Speaker's Circle, lots of religious protesters, things like that. How does that affect your day?
Well, I mean, the reality is that I'm here as a force to push back against the hate preachers primarily. I have no conflicts. I've never had any conflicts with any other group out here. It's just the preachers who come out here to tell you, that you're all messed up and you're damned and you're going to hell, and yell at you and stuff like that. Those people are really a bore to deal with. But other than that, I'm here to present something else. I'm here to show people that you can achieve heaven right here, right now, right in your lifetime. If people see me playing footbag, and it's obvious how much I enjoy doing it, I love doing it. Hopefully that comes through. The intensity and the purpose and the love of what I do comes through as kind of a counteraction to those preachers. And my message is that that is achievable, that is attainable in somebody's lifetime, and you can do it on your own terms, but you have to find something. Like hacky sack is to me, you got to find something of your own that you can pour your heart and soul into, that you can put the 10,000 hours into, that you can love and that you can do and that you can stick to your whole life, and you get that reward in the end. And I want to show people that it's a testimony of love and fulfillment that you can achieve in your lifetime.
Okay. And you said you used to compete?
Yes.
Okay, so what does that look like?
There's 4 disciplines in footbag, 4 primary disciplines. There's consecutives, which I hold the 9th highest marathon record for at 20,004 kicks. Took me about 4 hours. I hold the 6th highest speed consecutives record at 857 in 5 minutes, and I actually set a world record in that event when they first started it. I was the best guy the first year when they first introduced that, and I set a Guinness World Record. It took somebody else a couple of years to get better than me and break it, and then somebody since came and just buried the record. But I did set an old world record for that. But my best competition is 6th highest. And then it's not really consecutives, but my Guinness World Record that I hold now is distance traveled in an hour while controlling a footbag.
And what was that distance?
I ended up doing 5,053.4 meters in 1 hour.
Oh my goodness.
And so, you figure a 5K in 1 hour is, a brisk walking pace, really. But while controlling a hacky sack puts it on a completely different level. I'm actually, contacting the footbag with every foot stroke. So it's, on my knees, step knee, step knee, step knee, and it's a really energy intensive thing. The first half hour of that hour, I did pretty good. I went dropless. I was on about a 6.5 kilometer pace, but that second half hour, I went and just crashed at the end. It was, I didn't have the conditioning to do the full hour with, so, and the thing is, you can drop it in the Guinness record attempt, but you have to step behind where you last controlled it and start kicking and then start moving forward again. And, it's the distance that matters. So, I ended up dropping it like 8 or 9 times, and I swear 4 or 5 of them were on the very last lap I did. That's how worn out I was getting at that last few minutes. I had completely lost track of everything, where I was, how long it had been, everything. I was just like, where is it going? When is it ending?
And then, so you film yourself out here sometimes or all the time? Is it
Pretty much every time I'm out here, I usually bring my camera and film myself. I've, been without a camera for a while, so I wasn't filming myself every time. I'll forget it or something like that. But, I have a long-term project that I've been at for a little over 10 years now, where I post stuff on YouTube on a regular basis, and there's a number of reasons I do that. Is just, to get footbag out there, let people know it still exists as kind of an ambassador of the sport, low-key, promotion of the sport. I'm kind of like a really abstract hacky sack or footbag commercial at this point in my life. I put my videos up there in a certain way so that I can actually go back and look at them and extract performance metrics out of them. So at this point, I'm on a project of trying to document the change in my performance over time as I age, as specifically as an athlete that's been doing this activity all my life. I started when I was 17 years old, and I've been doing it all my life. And so at this point, I'm, documenting the change in my abilities and the changes in my performance over time as I age.
So what does your family think about the whole thing?
Well, my kids are like, yeah, whatever, he's the hacky sack guy. I've never pressured them to play footbag. I've always been like, you got to find your own thing. For my son, it's music and game development. For my other son, it's animals, animal care. He's an animal charmer. So, they found their own things. So they're just, they're like, I'm their dad. I'm not, some other world figure to them. I'm just a dad who happens to play hacky sack. My wife actually used to play footbag too. In fact, she still holds the Guinness World Record for the women's speed kicking at 804 kicks in 5 minutes.
Do you have any other passions or hobbies that a lot of people don't know about?
Well, probably the people don't know about, probably not, because I talk about them on Twitter all the time. Obviously, if there's any other thing I love as much as playing footbag, it's riding my bicycle. I've ridden a bicycle for transportation pretty much all my life. At this point, I've displaced, 175,000 car miles. That's like roughly 100 tons of carbon that I haven't emitted into the atmosphere because I've ridden a bicycle instead. We knew about global warming 40 years ago, and I did something about it. I'm like, I want to ride my bicycle instead of, driving a car, because it's so much more environmentally friendly. And I'm really passionate about the environment. I've ridden a bicycle all my life. I've done that. I've been a vegetarian, or a near vegetarian I should say, most of my life. And then in the last couple of years, I've finally managed to put solar panels on my house, so I'm getting all my electricity from solar panels now. I've actually developed this entire religious, quasi-religious, thing about this whole, gospel of hacky sack, how, gravity is a manifestation of God's love, and I've learned to play in that love, and it brings me so much joy and happiness, and I feel like it's like it fills up my soul, and it just runs over and it runs over, and I can't stop it from running over anymore. It makes me so happy, and I want to let people know that there's no one thing. Hacky sack was my salvation as a teenager. I was going to a party, underage drinking, soft drugs, whatever, when I met hacky sack, and I was like, what are you guys doing out here? Oh, we're playing hacky sack. You want to try it? And it was a transformative experience because hacky sack was a non-competitive thing. It was a cooperative circle. Everybody was just out there having fun. You miss the hacky sack, which I did constantly when I first tried it. I wasn't any good. People just laughed, and we pick it up and serve it and go on, and nothing. It was this really cool experience in that context for me, because I wasn't, I'm not naturally physically gifted or talented or anything like that. So I never was good at sports when I tried them, and hacky sack was so different because there wasn't any pushback to not being any good, and I was like, oh, I got to get a hacky sack and get good so I can really contribute at these circles. And so I got a hacky sack, and I started practicing. It was just, I was hooked instantly. It's call it OCD, call it whatever you want, but I was hooked instantly, and I just did it, and I started doing it, and I just never stopped.